Hey everyone, we're back at PlatformCon. I actually just came off the stage maybe a half hour ago where I did my panel on mythos and what it means for platform engineers. But I'm really happy to have our next guest with us. He's been with us probably at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Tucker Callaway is the CEO at Mezmo. You've been at Mezmo, what, about 6 years?
Yeah.
Long time, man,
Yeah.
right? And we've both been through this whole historic time frame we're living behind.
Yeah.
But Tucker, you know what? Let's start with you. How did you come to Mezmo? Give us a little bit of your background.
Well, it's interesting. I grew up in the DevOps SRE space, like through Chef was where a lot of my really formative experiences were, if you remember that, in the early days of DevOps. And so it's kind of interesting. Like I started at LogDNA, now Mezmo. And as I was saying to some people earlier, I feel like this is my 3rd job
At Mezmo.
with Mezmo, right? It's all been the same job basically, but it's been a 3rd evolution. And the last 12 months really have been like this opportunity to just reinvent. The world's rewriting itself. And so the last 3 months has just been this opportunity to reinvent everything we do from scratch, like how we operate internally, how we think about providing value to our customers, and like what the future of the world's even going to look like. So it's been fascinating to go through.
It is. That's crazy. I think a lot of people out here are feeling the same thing though, Tucker. Maybe not 3 times in 6 years. But this last year,
But at least
year
the last
and
year,
a half, we are all trying to figure out who moved my cheese? How are things changing? What's my role? How do I excel? Right? And you and I were talking off camera. It's not about losing your job to AI.
Yeah.
But how am I leveraging AI to be more effective? Now, with Mezmo, as you mentioned, DevOps, SRE space. The last time I saw you, and granted, it was probably 18 months ago, maybe a little more than a year, we were talking about the AI SRE, right? And that seemed pretty radical. I remember thinking to myself, wow, he's pushing the envelope, right?
Yeah.
Here we are a year and a half later, and that's not enough. That's old school.
It's old news now.
Yeah, that's old.
Yeah.
We're way beyond that. But for purposes of our audience, let's start with that. What do we mean when we say an AI SRE?
Well, there's probably like 2 or 3 ways to take that question in my mind. There's one is, what is it, right? Then there's like, what does it mean for the SRE? How does it change their role? And the third is like, what's the future of that? How's that going to look, right? And so to me, the first thing is, what is it? To me, it's a capability that's basically, the SRE, the job of the SRE has always been about removing toil. That's the foundation of an SRE. That's the thing, that's the ethos they believe in the most.
Yep.
And so to me, the AI SRE capability is how do I remove, it's just doing more of what they've always done, which is how do I remove toil through automation? It's just a new opportunity and a new architecture to do that. So like, that's what to me, AI SRE is just the thing that they've always been trying to do and giving them new ways and new architectures to do that. So the next is then that how does that change the role? And there's all this fear is like, do we not need SREs anymore? And I think that's like this crazy dystopian AI future that I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
No, some people buy into it.
Some people buy into it. I don't know. I don't buy into it, but of course, but I think the opportunity is for the SRE to become more of a reliability architect. So to be able to design more systems, design and build systems that leverage the new technologies and capabilities, which they've always done. They were the ones that led us into DevOps. They were the ones, and I think they're the SREs are a role that will lead us into this new future. It's interesting to me that the majority of the attention in the market goes into building software when it comes to AI, but actually the biggest opportunity is actually running software. Because to me, running software includes supporting it, maintaining it, observing it, securing it, all that stuff.
Amen.
So like here we are with Cursor getting bought, for $60 billion.
All stock.
Or now 30 or whatever it is.
Maybe there was no lock.
Still a great acquisition, right? But the big opportunity is actually how do we run software, and that's what I think the AI SRE is one of the first, vignettes into that space of running software. So then I come to my third point, which is how will people consume this? And I think right now everything is kind of a bolt-on to an observability platform, and our mission is to go to create the operating environment for people to create agents, for the builders to create, right? So instead of just consuming this outcome, and there's some great products out there that are delivered via SaaS that give you an AI SRE outcome. Our focus is on this segment of the market, which I think is a bigger segment of the market that's going to go build AI SRE. They'll look at it as critical infrastructure. They want to own it. They don't want to buy it from a vendor. It needs to be transparent. It can't be a black box. They want to control their LLM costs. You get it all into kind of token economics and stuff like that. So, so we're super excited about that.
Let's dig into that though, because I think you're onto something. Well, you probably think you are too, because you put the whole company on the line. But you're pretty invested, as they say.
I'm all in.
The hen and the hog, right? The hen wants to give an egg. The hog has more of a commitment, right? Exactly. But that being said, Tucker, first of all, look, couple of things. I do believe that we're entering the age of the engineer.
Yeah.
Right? Developers have to become software engineers. It's not enough to be a coder. AI is going to code. You got to manage that. You're a builder. You're a software engineer. You're a reliability engineer. I think with things like quantum engineers, fusion engine, the world is going. It's an engineer's world.
It is
what we're coming to.
Yeah.
Secondly, though, I think you're right. There have been last gen tools that SREs have used, and I'm not naming names here, but they were good tools.
They're great tools.
They built good businesses. Some of them have great exits in public and all of that. However, this is a pattern I've seen in tech my whole life. The tendency is take the next shiny new trinket. First, it's a standalone product, but then it becomes a feature in the platform. And it's very much bolted on. It's not organic. And that may work for a certain segment of the market, right? Some people are happy with that because they get to stay in that tool that they're comfortable in. But then you want more. You want more. You want native functionality. You don't want that bolt-on, because the bolt-on, at the end of the day, it's a bolt-on.
Well, look, the way I totally agree with you. And it is a pattern as old as time that new technology comes out. It emulates the form of old technology in its initial adoption. And then over a period of time, it evolves into what it should be, right? And now, so the interesting now is we have effectively unlimited intelligence and unlimited coding capacity, right? Like you could use the LLMs and Cloud Code and all that stuff to we have infinite dev capacity. We have infinite intelligence. And so what do those two things together? That used to be what we provided to SaaS vendors, right?
Yep.
We coded intelligence into an offering so that you could consume that. So now the opportunity is that is become a utility. So we will build differently. There are opportunities to take those things and build them into embedded workflows inside an enterprise. And that needs to be open source. That needs to be something that people own. And that's not consuming an outcome. That's not consuming SaaS. And when people talk about SaaS being dead, I believe SaaS is dead. I don't think vendors are dead. I think SaaS is dead. And
I think the way we consume SaaS and the way we think about SaaS and the way we not monetize, but expense SaaS.
That's right. Yeah.
That whole CapEx, OpEx thing that drove SaaS, I think it changes in this world. But here's the other thing. You talk about open source. There were open source tools, for SREs that really, they became SaaSified because companies use that as SaaS became a business model.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best delivery mechanism.
That's right. Yeah.
But open source. That seems to be the thing. Well, Mythos, Fable, don't worry. The open source models will be here in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
There's this. Open source is the great, what's the emancipator, if you will.
Equalizer.
Right. It's going to set us all free
to
run and do what we want and not be under the thumb of that government, this oligarch, that billionaire, right? Because once it's open,
you can't stop it. Yeah.
Right. Is that part of Mezmo's thought process here? Is, hey, once we put it out in the open, people will recognize the power of it.
I think so. Yeah. I think there's also a big element for us too that is like, I think a vendor now is a derivative of what the vendor used to be. You know, we used to provide intelligence, we used to provide a UI, we used to provide a data store, we provide governance and data management and all that things. And we package that up into an opinionated way of delivering an outcomes to everyone. And so like now the enterprise has an opportunity to take on some of those pieces on their own in a way they never have before.
Yeah.
So I still think that for example, Aura, which is our open source AI SRE capability, is an opinionated harness, right? So you take that opinionated open source harness and you can pick whatever model you want, local model, pick your Mythos, Fable, whatever you want to do. And we built opinions in terms of how memory works, how the evaluation loops work. And we take all these things that you would have to build on your own and put them into the model. And that's what a vendor is now, is actually providing that harness or providing like the opinionated layer on top of AI instead of providing the whole thing. Because now companies can take that harness and build it into their workflows more effectively. So to me, it is a democratization thing. I do hope it's like, that's our expectation, is that it takes off. But it's really more like being really thoughtful about what does a company need to own in the new world and what does a vendor need to provide in the new world, you know, and it's different.
It is. Yeah. I think that whole vendor customer relationship, whether we're talking about like open core, open source with premium models, SaaS, what have you, that is radically changing. Like your world has changed, all of our world's changed in the last year. That's changing now too. Let's talk about Aura.
Yeah.
So at its core, it's open source.
Open source, Apache 2. Yeah.
If I didn't want to use Mezmo's premium features, is there enough there for me to make something?
That's one of the principles, is that it needs to stand, like it is a strategy for us as a company. It is also something we're giving to the world. And for both those two things to be true, it has to be independently valuable. So it is independently valuable. We think we can make it even more better, in some of the things we do. Like, so for example, one of the highest value things we do is intelligence and signal engineering out of raw telemetry data to process that specifically for agents. That's something we charge for. We think it's like, we have an infrastructure and architecture that does that. So we think it's a valid contract with the community. But if you don't want to do that, then it will do all the AI SRE tasks for you on its own, and you can go use it, and we hope you do.
Is the future of Aura to be something that is strictly like Mezmo managed, or do you foresee maybe another path where it becomes part of one of these open source foundations or something?
I think if we're successful, it becomes part of the open source foundations. Yeah, it's not our aim to hold and control it. We're actually the most interested in the governance, memory, and single intelligence processing layers. But we just know that, like, in order to get to those problems, we've got to help the market advance. We need to help the builders. Yeah. We need to help the builders get out of the SaaS consumed solutions and observability vendors that they're with today and advance them into this new world. And so that's our aim with Aura. We built it for ourselves for that reason, and then decided to open source it. And that we think that gets the market advanced faster, which suits us obviously, but it suits the market as a whole. And so I can absolutely see us turning it over to a foundation.
But I think that's an important thing, right? You guys built this for yourselves first, then realized like the right thing to do is put this in market and let it find its level. You mentioned one big freemium or premium type of add-on. What else? Is there anything else in there?
Yeah, there's three big categories we're looking at. So the first is opinionated memory. And so basically taking the AI SRE task and creating specific memory, the memory format for that, which we'll release in the coming weeks. Maybe let's say the coming months, like in the next 2-3 months, we'll release that as a commercial offering. What that does is it makes it so you don't have to use generic memory, but you can take, the generic memory basically, as it gets context engineered, is very lossy because it's just doing summarizations. We have an opinionated framework around investigations as a data primitive. And when you do that, you actually get a better long running memory capability with less lossiness for the specific task of AI SRE. So that's one. The second is Aura as an execution framework has human in the loop, but over time you're going to need to manage, how do I escalate trust? How do I elevate and escalate trust in those agents as they deliver outcomes for me? So how do I manage permissions on one side and then trust on the other? So that would be a capability we'll offer. And then of course the signal processing I mentioned before.
The first one.
Yeah, those are the three. Yeah.
I want to come back to Aura. Obviously, probably on GitHub, I'm assuming.
Yep.
You may not know this, but we'll try to put it in after the fact.
Yeah.
The GitHub.
That's Mezmo/Aura.
Okay, easy.
Yeah,
so GitHub.
Yeah.
GitHub.com/Mezmo/Aura.
That's right.
And it's AURA.
AURA. You can go to our website, Mezmo.com, and the first link you'll see is taking you to the GitHub repository. Yeah. So.
And you can get started right from there.
Get started right from there. We actually just last week released the init and onboarding functions. So it'll get you going, discover your MCP servers, and you should be able to run AI SRE task in like 15 minutes.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Tucker, man,
thanks for having me.
Don't wait 18 months for me to catch up. God knows what you'll be doing.
I know.
Hey, Mezmo.com. Aura is the open source. Check it out. We're here at PlatformCon. Look, these are your people. I'm sure you're having a great time.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more. You're watching TechStrong TV.